Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back in to our 10th episode and installment of our final season Clone Wars review. This episode is called The Phantom Apprentice. Got a little nod of the head. Yeah. A little nod of the head over to episode 1. I like it. So we're gonna kind of, again, you guys have been watching the series for a while. You know how this works. We jump in. We talk about the episode kind of point by point, what stood out to us, what did we really like, if there anything that we didn't like, and then as we kind of get through to the end, we give our rating on this episode, and kind of go from there. So, first impressions off the rip. They jumped right back into this episode. They didn't give it the traditional Clone Wars intro again, but they made it slightly different from the last episode, episode 9. This episode, like, I feel very much so like I'm watching a movie. Yeah. And for me, I'm very glad that this last series of episodes is getting the royal treatment in that regard. That is something that makes me very, very happy, that the quality of these episodes is like, they're not leaving. It's obvious that they put a lot of care and effort into this. Yeah. And that was something that was really, really awesome for me. Like Lucasfilm Limited Productions again, part 2, Phantom Apprentice, and then gives the little red Clone Wars logo, and then instantly snaps to right where we left off. Right? Great, phenomenal way to lead right into it. Again, I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm watching the Clone Wars, so to speak. I feel like I'm watching a movie, and I'm so happy that they're treating it like that. You have any thoughts on the little beginning of this, or?
I liked it. Watching Darth Maul and kind of trying to imagine in my head what would happen if his plan went through, if Ahsoka had said yes and then also didn't just say it, right? What would have happened if Darth Maul was believed? What if he got some sway in the Republic on this? Like what would have happened? That's where I am at with this. So as some of the action takes place, some of those really cool battles between him and Ahsoka, which finally got that crazy Darth Maul spin his blade from the trailer. Finally got to see that. It was not a letdown. I liked that mindlessness to enjoy some pretty colors while I kind of just imagined the what if. Yeah. And this first half, not the last half, the first half of this episode to me was a lot of what if. So I like that. And something different.
So like, obviously first half of the episode, it's Maul is obviously talking to Ahsoka, and he's obviously hinting towards what's coming, and he realizes with essentially Ahsoka saying like, yeah, like this is the reason why Obi-Wan isn't here, and Maul's kind of like connecting the dots, like, oh, like things are about to get heated, like things are kicking into gear now, like everything's about to change big time. You can honestly tell that he has like a fear and almost reverence for Sidious, in my opinion, like in some of the facial expressions that he was making, and that fear that you can see in his facial expression really kind of accentuates what is supposed to be like the dark, ominous power that Sidious has, right? He's supposed to be like the most powerful Sith Lord ever. I mean, debatable, all right, conversation for another Star Wars video, but I really liked the subtle animation in his face that painted that for me, and then kind of moving forward, the interactions that we move towards with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, right?
Yep.
Really, really good. Again, letting us know where we are in the timeline for episode 3. And I like the fact that we're getting that. I like that we know.
Specifically saying Utapau for Grievous.
Yep.
Paint it out right in front. Do what you want. Yeah, I like that.
and then we also have like Obi-Wan is asking Ahsoka to talk to Anakin, right? Do we think that's going to happen, or is that not going to be it? Because I know she said she didn't really want to. She was like, I'm not the person you want to talk to Anakin about, like, the authority of the council. Like, I'm not I'm not in their favor.
Yeah. No. One thing you had mentioned in the last episode was maybe it was the last time that her and Anakin saw each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of feeling that still.
Okay. That would make sense.
To it, you know?
Yeah, with the way that they kind of painted that last little scene and the looks they gave each other, it would make sense that would have been the last time that they see each other or talk to each other before he becomes Vader. So that would make sense. So maybe they won't end up talking to each other, which again, that's fine. But I want to continue to see the play out of the timeline here. I want to know where they are in episode 3 as we go through this last series of episodes.
What landed them in that space battle in the first place?
Yeah,
when they were going for Palpatine. Yeah,
Yeah. And then as we kind of get towards the second half of the episodes, or the second half of the episode, it's revealed to Ahsoka that Maul was looking to essentially get his hands on Anakin, right? He wanted, and then just kind of killing Obi-Wan would have been the cherry on the top for him, but that's his intentions are revealed. She wants to know why, and when they walk back into the throne room and find him, the interaction between them is very, very, like, there's a lot of tension there. And when she is asked by Maul, like, join me, I was honestly not expecting her to say, yes, I'll join you. I really wasn't. I expected that to kind of just take the very, like, traditional, like, Clone Wars. No.
Yeah.
Good stomps on evil. Like, I'm never going to join you type of thing. And obviously that's how it ended up turning out. But the fact that she considered it, and the fact that she was willing to accept the fact that maybe, even though he is my enemy, joining with him has more potential good value to come out of it. Like, it paints a very like non-black and white approach to it.
They showed how gray she is, in my opinion. Or like I mentioned earlier, kind of the what if scenario. I mean, in this case, and this ties into my final verdict on the episode too, I think that had Ahsoka gone with Maul, things would have ended up differently, and 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. That'd be different.
Yeah, they totally would have. So yeah, I do agree with you on that. The rest of this episode was a lot of action, and I think that the action in this episode, like, obviously we've had nothing but good things to say about the animation and everything that's been happening in the show so far, but I think this episode, in my opinion, really visually takes it to the next level. Like, the lightsaber combat between the two of them was so very fluid.
The scene where Maul gets kicked through a window and his lightsabers with him vertically, right?
Yeah.
So
and it slices the wall.
And it just, yeah. Like, what a cool. That's cool. His body goes through the window. It goes through the wall.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just the little details that stuck. So even though the dialogue wasn't as kicking, it was still memorable.
Yeah. And then we kind of get towards the very end of the episode. Ahsoka and Maul are fighting up top. And then at the very end, Maul gets captured. But we still have another, I think, 2 episodes left. So with that being the case, is the focus is Maul going to escape? Because obviously we know he's not, like, we know where he ends up for, like, Star Wars Rebels, right? but is the story focus now shifting away from Maul and moving towards Ahsoka and her experience with Order 66 and what happens thereafter? Or is it going to be Maul somehow escapes and there's still that going on? I am not sure. So I'll be curious to see how this plays out, but I kind of wanted to, like, did you have any other like thoughts about the episode in particular before we kind of move on to giving our final verdicts? Or
my final verdict has to do with the last bit of the episode, so I'm
Okay.
good to move on.
okay, yeah, I'm okay moving towards final verdicts, and I want to hear yours before I give mine, and I'm curious to hear your thought process before I jump
Okay.
into mine.
Darth Maul gets captured, and there's this moment where the webs and the ropes kind of wrapping around him, and he's helpless, and he just has this, to me, this look of, I've cried wolf too many times. I've been evil. I've done my things. They're not going to believe me now when I say I could probably stop something that is greater than even I know. Watching that helplessness and that hopelessness too, like that sense of failure in a Sith, that was pretty powerful to me as a lifelong Star Wars fan. But to see that on Ahsoka too, where she didn't have this sense of, I did it, guys, like he said before, you know, the good always triumphs over evil. It was, she almost looked like she was wondering, did I make the right decision?
Mhm.
Should I free him? I will say that I hope they don't spend a lot of time trying to quote free him, if that's the case, for him getting out of jail to set up for Rebels. I don't mind if it's a quick passive thing. We all know what happens anyways, so we
Yes.
don't really need too much of the backstory, much like the Solo movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like the way their interaction went, to me, solidifies that she's probably not going to see Anakin again.
Mhm.
But she's going to be smart enough to understand that the reason she's not going to see Anakin again is because of this mistake. And I think it's what's going to push her further in the direction she ends up going to, is because of these little moments that just tack on weight and weight and weight to the camel's back, and eventually she cracks. So that's where I'm at. Obviously, music, visuals, can't complain about that. The story in this one, the way I was able to feel emotions without any words being said throughout a lot of this was really cool to me.
Yeah.
And I'm a very sensitive person, so that's a very big point.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a 9.5 I'm a 9 out of 10. And the reason I say that is I'm afraid that the next episodes, which are the final episodes, are going to be spent freeing Maul and this big, you know, Mission Impossible. I just don't want that. I don't want that. That's kind of where I'm at. A lot of open plot pieces for the Mandalorians that I think could pretty easily be cleared up in the next couple of episodes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap that up. Yeah, 9.
Okay. All that being said, I really agree with pretty much everything you said there. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well, but for a different reason.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because while I do agree with what you said, in the context of this episode, it is somewhat difficult for me to become invested in the fate of Maul because I know what happens. I already know where things end up for him. So yes, there's like the minutia of like, okay, how does he escape, right? But it doesn't matter because I know he ends up escaping. I know that he kind of lives his life in exile on the Sith planet. That's where he ends up. That's where we see him next. And so it's just, for me, it's same type of thing with the Solo movie. Like, why should I care what happens with Solo in the context of these films?
Yeah.
Because I know where he ends up. I know where he ends. Like the only like true potential they had in that movie to really hold me was with his relationship with Kira in the movie, to like draw this picture of of tragedy, right? It's like a lost love, which would have painted the picture for why he became so callous and so self-serving in episode 4 when we originally see him. That is the only purpose that movie would have served. But again, it's hard to become invested in the journey of a character through a show or a movie when we already know where they end up. And so because of that, like, the conclusion to this episode just felt weak to me. Not because it was poorly written, not because it was poorly executed upon, but because we already know how things turn out. We already know he doesn't stay in Republic's custody, or if he does, like, he escapes during the chaos of what ensues during Order 66. So that's what gives this episode a 9 out of 10 for me, instead of a 10 out of 10. It's because it's hard for me to really connect with the fate of Maul in this episode, because I don't care, because I know what's coming. So
that's an interesting point. I guess for me, and I'm gonna kind of throw this in quickly, but
no, sure, go for it.
With Duel of the Fates, right, with every 6-year-old in the freaking world for how much our entire life to this day, the way he took out Qui-Gon, the way Obi-Wan took up the reins, the whole thing stemming from that murder that Darth Maul did, I already had emotional attachment to him. So I guess in this one, to see him, yes, we know where he ends up. Yes, we know kind of some of the ways to it, all these things. To see it on his face, that moment of helplessness, to me, solidified stories that, yes, I know what happens in them. It kind of completed them, if that makes sense. So, I like
adding more context to the character.
Yeah, and is it worth this much of the final few episodes of an entire season? Maybe not. But is it done well? At least I would say yes.
Oh yes, it is done very well. It just, like,
but I see what you're at, the good points. I completely agree.
Yeah. So that's the reason it doesn't get a 10 out of 10 for me. And like, obviously in hindsight, like I think the selling point, at least like in the trailer for the final season of this show, was very much like there was a heavy selling point on Maul, right? Maul and Ahsoka and the conflict that was going to be there. There is a natural attraction for pretty much anyone who is a Star Wars fan to Maul, because there was always a lot of, like, I mean, it's like Duel of the Fates, man.
Yep.
It's you can't top it, honestly. Like, in my opinion, my humble opinion, now it's closely contested by the episode 3 duel, but I think it's actually probably the best lightsaber duel in the entire saga. That is my humble opinion.
Maybe the best lightsaber duel soundtrack. Yes.
So. Okay. Soundtrack complementing the actual lightsaber duel. It makes it very good. Anyways, but yeah, so that's what makes it a 9 out of 10. Do I think that they should have used a different antagonist for this series of episodes? Maybe not, because there was still a lot of unresolved stuff with the Mandalore thing. So I think this is like a double whammy. Obviously, one, they get people interested because everyone loves Maul, and then two, they get to wrap up on something that was yet unresolved from the original series. So good on them for taking this opportunity to do that. So maybe this is a little bit unfair of me to give it a 9 out of 10, because it's like they're between a rock and a hard place, right? They're doing something good by wrapping up on a story that we've seen, but they're also kind of taking a little bit away, in my opinion, by relying and leaning on Maul. So maybe it's a bit of an unwinnable situation that I'm putting them in, but yeah, sure, go for it.
How much do you trust me?
I mean, I trust you.
Can you just for 30 seconds assume that this is an 8 out of 10, both of us? It's the duel of the 8s. You should like and subscribe for that reason alone. My
Yeah. I think
Anyway, that's the thoughts I have.
Yeah, I think, guys, that is going to wrap it for this episode today, guys. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and comment if you guys like this video. Great. If you dislike the video. I want to know what your guys' thoughts were. Let us know in the comments below what you guys thought about everything regarding this entire season of the show, regarding just this episode in particular. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we'd be glad to have a discussion with you. That is it for this episode for season 7, episode 10, The Phantom Apprentice. Guys, make sure to follow myself over on mixer.com/GeneralKolobi. Make sure to follow him over on mixer.com/POISONkill and subscribe to him at youtube.com/RealPoisonkill. Guys, that wraps it for this episode. This is the General and Poison tuning out.